The following announcement has been paid for by the
Anchor. And if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. That's right. It is free. Capital F, capital R, capital double E. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Everything you need to make a podcast is in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to the Worst Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the worst host, Justin. And like I had referenced in my prior episode entitled Blood from a Stone, I was hyping how this month, the month of March, was going to be based all about WrestleMania. And I was promoting how this month every episode was going to be based about WrestleMania, the hype of WrestleMania, our road to WrestleMania, and how the Worst Wrestling Podcast is part of a network, SLTD network, and how within that family of ours we have other podcasters that are going to be releasing WrestleMania material to get all of the listeners, all the lovers of wrestling, ready for the big show, the main stage, the Super Bowl for the WWE. And when I recorded that episode, um, things were, somewhat. I'm not going to say normal in the world. Obviously, with the coronavirus, things were we were extremely aware of the virus, but things kind of took to a whole nother level. Um, Literally what I feel like within, 24 hours, we, the whole world just kind of, especially in the United States, we just kind of just shut down. The coronavirus kind of laid the smackdown on all of us. And, with that being said, we had a lot of things that had happened, that has transpired in 1 week, um, from this virus, trying to keep, uh, all the U.S. citizens and trying to keep us all safe. And, we had school being canceled, like for 3 weeks or so. Colleges shut down, online classing, some colleges, basically just kind of told all the kids, hey, we're not, returning this semester. We'll see you, hopefully in the first semester of the next year. Um, Sporting events all canceled. I believe the NBA was going to attempt to play their games in obviously in their arenas, but with no audience. That took a 180 and said, nope, we're not even doing it. March Madness, same idea. They were gonna kind of see if they can get away with doing it without an audience, and they decided as well not to do it. But the one sporting event that has moved on and it's continuing to move on is the WWE. And I'm not 100% sure what AEW is doing. I believe that they are going to continue on with their products, following the suit of what WWE has been doing and what they have been doing since Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th, that is. They've been having SmackDown at their performance center, which was good. I enjoyed it. There was um, no audience, obviously. So these wrestlers performed in front of nobody, which is kind of strange in a way if you're um, used to, we're all used to watching wrestling in a big, um, events where there is a crowd and there are cheers, there are boos, there are, this is awesome chants. These are, the chants of you suck and or you fucked up or any of that. We're so used to seeing that. And Friday we saw something different. We saw a whole 2 hours of SmackDown um, with no audience. And that they had a couple of matches. I know that they showed the Elimination Chamber for the replay for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. So they replayed that, and they had their segments and such. But it was interesting. It was interesting to see. It was interesting to view. And then they followed it up with Monday, again performing at the Performance Center. I think they only had like maybe two matches. I know they replayed the whole Royal Rumble from this past year, 2020, which is awesome. I think that's an extremely good idea. It kind of creates a buzz of for Drew McIntyre's win. Creates the buzz where you can follow the storyline of Edge's return and what him and Randy Orton are going through right now with their storyline. I believe it was a good idea. And then we also, before Raw went on the air, they made the announcement, which was the biggest, I guess, announcement that a lot of us wrestling fans were waiting for, was the announcement of WrestleMania. For the longest time since last week when everybody else was closing down things. I mean, you can't even go into restaurants now. You can go through the drive-through or go order takeout. But everything is just like shutting down, and we were concerned what was going to be happening with WrestleMania, and they were just reporting that they were just kind of go take it day by day, see what was going on, and I was reading that Tampa wanted to kind of pull the plug on it, and WWE was kind of obviously not wanting to, and that they apparently had a plan in place in case it was, where they weren't able to do the WrestleMania in Tampa. So that was kind of all up in the air until Monday night, before Raw. They had announced that WrestleMania will go on, and it will be at the Performance Center in, I believe, Orlando, Florida. Um, there's a lot of people that are extremely upset. Maybe upset, but maybe I think a little bit more mad, a little bit more pissed off that the WWE is continuing on with WrestleMania and it's going to be at the Performance Center with no audience. Um, I've seen people, on social media speak extremely negative about it. Where they even recommended where, put some of the wrestlers out in the audience that are not even performing at WrestleMania, just kind of put them out there, get a reaction as such. Um, I've seen people that are happy that it's still going on. I've seen people react to where it's going to suck that if Drew McIntyre does defeat Brock Lesnar, that his first title win is going to be in front of no one. And his celebration is going to be in front of no one. And there might not even be any pyro, for this at all, you know. And, we also, people are discussing, the whole Undertaker and AJ Styles match. People are, it's up in the air of like, hey, are we going to see the Undertaker or are we going to see the American Badass? And, people there that were wanting to see the American Badass, his entrance with a motorcycle, going down that long ramp at WrestleMania. That would have been awesome. But now it's at the Performance Center. It's a short ramp. It's not much of a walkway. So are we going to see, what Undertaker are we going to see? So there's so many things that are up for are up in the air for everybody's thoughts and opinions and views. And that's what's great about wrestling, is that we all have our thoughts and our opinions, our views, and so on and so forth. It's always has been that way, and it will continue to be that way, because that's just what the sport brings out in us fans. Um, Me personally, I am excited to see what the WWE is going to put out for us. Um, when 9/11 happened, they were the first, sporting event that continued on. They had their tribute show on SmackDown, and it was, it's they were the ones, they stood up and said, hey, we're going to continue on. We're going to give America something to smile about. And I always believe that Vince McMahon, regardless of what people think or say, is in that mindset of giving us fans something to entertain us with when things are going rough in the world. And with this instance with the coronavirus and how it has literally taken this whole world and shooken it upside down and shaking us around and giving us DDTs and all that shit, uh, Vince is saying, you know what, just because this is happening, we're still going to continue on. We're still going to entertain the fans. And I'm cool with that. They have, you want to look back at history with a couple of extremely good matches that happened in front of no one. Your first reason you want to talk about, you had The Rock and Mankind, Halftime Heat. That match was performed in an empty arena, and that was an extremely good match. Two of the best, creating a story for us to watch during halftime. Okay? Then you want to go back to history. You have Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk that had a match in an empty arena, and those two guys brought the house down when there was no house to even see it. So the matches that we're going to see at WrestleMania, yes, as much as we are so used to seeing the glitz and the glamour of WrestleMania, it is going to be cool as the years go on to look back 20, 30 years from now and say, that WrestleMania in 2020 and the Performance Center with no audience, that was an interesting WrestleMania. That was something out of the box, out of the ordinary, something special. Now, I understand that probably some of the wrestlers are, kind of probably somewhat disappointed, but in the same sense, they're still going out there and they're doing what they love to do, and that's perform. And I'm excited for it. So let's in these times of what's going on, um, let's kind of take a step back and just let the WWE kind of put on their show, and let's just sit back and enjoy it. And as much as we want to talk negative about it, and we have every right to, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but let's just see what's going to be promoted first, because I'm not happy either. For Edge to come back after 9 years, it would have been so cool to see his entrance, the pop that he would have received from 85 to 90,000 fans when his music hit. That would have been so cool. That would have been awesome, like, for him. And now his entrance, he's gonna come out to no one after 9 years. Luckily he got that, that awesome pop at the Rumble, but that would have been awesome to hear, from, like I said, from 90,000 fans. But, I guess that's, it is what it is. My dad always told me, hey, you know what? Life is life, and it is what it is. You have your ups, your downs, and you just got to roll with the punches. So, it'll be interesting to see how WrestleMania is going to play out. But, as I'm continuing talking and discussing about Royal Rumble, or not Royal Rumble, sorry about that, WrestleMania and the coronavirus and how it's affected it. I want to take the time, in this episode, and it's not going to be a long one, it's going to be a short one. I just kind of want to discuss, how this is affecting a lot of us. Um, Obviously, this coronavirus is something that cannot be taken lightly. Obviously, we are literally put into a bubble per se of being cautious of everything that we do. Um, Obviously, there are people that have within the past 24 hours or so that were they're now working from home. Um, with me, uh, this isn't my full time gig. I do not make, all the money in the world based off of podcasting, so I do have a full time job. Um, and with my job, I'm still out there. I'm still doing what I got to do. And, I try not to think about, all of what's going on. So, I'm fortunate enough to where I can have my earbuds in and listen to whatever I want to listen to. Obviously, I listen to a bunch of podcasts. Um, the Get Cho podcast; those boys are awesome. Um, the Dits on Wrestling. So the Owl Pod, he's awesome. He's great. I mean, there's so many. Josh Robinson, who came out with um, his new format of what he's doing. There's so many podcasts out there that I enjoy listening to, and I have that ability to listen to while I'm at work. So that kind of gets me through my day. But there are others that are not as fortunate as others. So we should kind of, open arms and kind of be more embracing to others and not be so hurtful to others during this time. And like, especially for the ones that are holy shit, going to the stores and legit getting in fights over fucking toilet paper and water. I don't understand. Like, toilet paper, I mean, fuck. Just use water to wipe your ass. I don't know. Use a handkerchief. I don't know. Toilet paper though. I mean, water. We have tap water. Like, how people grew up on tap water. I grew up on tap water, but people are fighting over bottled water. Drink out of the tap. And if you don't want to drink out of the tap, then buy one of those purification uh, gimmicks that you attach to your sink and use one of those some bitches to drink out of. But it shouldn't be, coming down to that. We should be a little bit more civilized. And I personally blame social media and not just social media, but the media in itself for kind of presenting this virus into a wholly another atmosphere of kind of putting the nation in that big huge hysteria. It's like, whoa, let's calm down. I mean, I'm 35 years old, so and back in 2003 when I was a senior in high school, SARS was huge. Like, that is apparently what the coronavirus is somewhat related to. And that back in the day, and I don't even remember it being that big of an issue, even though it was like there were deaths and it was something that we should have taken it more serious. But as a nation, we weren't thoroughly prepared for it. And now that we have advanced with medicine and science and so on and so forth, um, we've kind of almost created an outrage in promoting of what this coronavirus is. And I'm not saying to take it lightly, but I'm saying to let's just kind of approach it in a more mature manner. We have people out there that are like, I don't even know what like they're thinking, but it's like I don't think the world's ending where we gotta go out there, buy all this shit up and hoard it, and then do what with it? I don't know. I mean, who knows? This could. Hey, maybe those people are right. Maybe They know something that we don't know. Maybe, in a month or two where it could legit be, you better stay home, do not leave your house at all. The whole nation is on lockdown. And you know what? For those that bought the shit ton of water and toilet paper, the canned foods, all the Kleenex, hey, you're good to go. And for some of us that had just purchased, here and there, well, we might be screwed. So who knows? Whatever. It is what it is. But, you know, with that being said, I don't want to continue on talking about the virus because this podcast is about wrestling. Um, but I just kind of wanted this episode to be to reflect on what, sorry guys, what WrestleMania has meant to me. Regardless of what's going on right now in the world, WrestleMania is an event that I have obviously enjoyed as much as you guys have. Like I mentioned before, I'm 35 years old. I've been watching wrestling forever, and the farthest memory that I can remember of a WrestleMania would be WrestleMania 5 with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and we all know that match started, that storyline, I guess, started way back a year before at WrestleMania 4 when Randy Savage went in and won the tournament because the championship was vacated, and he won a tournament and he became a new WWF champion at the time. And the storyline between Hulk and Randy developed there, pursued. Then the Mega Powers exploded. WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan defeats Randy Savage. The more match that WrestleMania that I can really have a good memory of would be WrestleMania 6, which was held in Toronto. Main event was Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, title versus title. Hogan was your WWF Heavyweight Champion. The Ultimate Warrior was your Intercontinental Champion. And out of that match, you had the Ultimate Warrior beating Hulk Hogan. And I can remember as a kid watching that match and seeing, because I was a Hulkamaniac, probably just like a lot of you guys were, but I just remember being so just down and out that the Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan. Now, I was still a fan of the Ultimate Warrior. Like, I enjoyed him because, as a young kid, his character was just superhero like, and it was just awesome. But Hulk Hogan was still my guy, and just watching Hogan get defeated, and him handing the title over to the Ultimate Warrior, and then Hogan getting into those little motorized carts that had the ring, little mini ring, which they should bring that back. Well, obviously not this year, but hopefully next year. Who knows? But just seeing him just drive away, being carted out, and him just looking at the Warrior and just kind of like probably thinking in his head like, what the fuck? Like this guy's gonna be the face of the WWF. Yeah, I don't know. Um, but I just remember that in WrestleMania 7. WrestleMania 7 had Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. That was the first match where I actually after years go on, where I look back and where I remember seeing Earl Hebner give the blade to Hulk Hogan so he can blade himself, get some juice in that match, and then him kind of like Hogan throwing it back to Earl and Earl picking it up. I remember that, like, after years of after seeing it, um, it's just strange. But anyways, then you also had the Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage in the career-ending match, and um, Ultimate Warrior beating Savage, and Sensational Sherry coming in there and just kind of, you know, shitting on Randy for losing, and then Miss Elizabeth coming back and kicking Sherry out of the ring, and the embrace of Savage and Elizabeth. People were crying in the audience. Yeah, those are the memories. WrestleMania 8's the only thing that I think I thoroughly just enjoyed of WrestleMania 8, 'cause I don't think it was like the greatest WrestleMania. Besides WrestleMania 8 had Bret Hart versus um, Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental title, and that was a good match. Um, but you had the Return of the Ultimate Warrior, um, which was really strange because you didn't see him for within that year, and he just looked smaller. His hair was cut. It was just strange as all hell. Um, then you had WrestleMania 9, who was at Caesar's Palace, and I believe that was Hogan's last WrestleMania. And the main event saw Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. Bret was the champ. Yokozuna beat him, and for some strange reason, Hulk Hogan decided to come down to the ring. And Bret was like, telling him to get basically the revenge. And Mr. Fuji challenged Hogan. Was speaking for Yokozuna, so they could challenge him for the title. So the title was on the line after the match. So then Hogan beat Yokozuna, so he was new champ. Yeah, I don't know. It was just strange, but you had so many years. The whole base of this is like there's so many memories that has happened of watching WrestleMania, like watching it with my family growing up, and then as I got older, going to my friend's house to watch it. Um, all these memories of WrestleMania, and I think that we should embrace of what's happening and what's going to be going on in the next couple of weeks. Let's hope it still stays on, because there's like reports out there that they might just cancel WrestleMania, hold off until June, I think 7th, where they're having a special event at Madison Square Garden. It could be possibly be held off until then. So who knows? We might not get a WrestleMania, in the next couple of weeks. It could be in the summer, which would be strange. Um, well, who knows? I mean, we also have Takeover that was postponed. Um, and I don't, as of this recording, I have no idea what's going on with Takeover. The Hall of Fame, which is like a really good Hall of Fame this year. Something I'm also looking forward to. That has been postponed, and I was reading this morning a tweet that the British Bulldog's daughter, Georgia Smith, tweeted out that it is postponed, and they're probably looking to do it somewhere around the SummerSlam pay-per-view, which would be cool, especially for the Bulldog, because he had that historic match with Bret Hart at Wembley Stadium for the Intercontinental title. Can't even say that word. So that'd be kind of cool. So, this coronavirus has definitely put a damper on a lot of sporting events, has put a damper on the whole WWE and what the time frame of WrestleMania. So we'll have to just wait and see. And like I said before, I just wanted this episode. I had something planned, and I'll just release it next week, which is no big deal. But with things that are going on this past week, the the news, the rumors, what the possibilities, what's being postponed, um, everybody with their views of the WrestleMania, um, positive or negative. I just felt like this episode, I just kind of want to come out here and just kind of open up to you guys, and just let everybody know, just from my point of view, just let's scale it back a little bit. Let's just relax a little bit. Let's enjoy what product is being put out for us when it comes to professional wrestling, whether it's WWE or AEW or whoever else. Let's just enjoy it. The coronavirus, you take forth of whatever you want to do. They just recommend you, stay 6 feet away from people. Continuously wash your hands. If you're feeling sick, stay home, consult your doctor. There's multiple websites out there for you guys to get a hold of to look more into it. Um, I'm not no doctor, so I'm not going to tell you where to go. I'm not going to say what symptoms are or any of that because I don't want any of that shit coming back to me. Um, but let's stay safe. Let's stay positive. We will get through this. Just like we always do with anything else, we'll get through it. And WrestleMania happens. I cannot wait. We get a little prediction show going for what matches are going to be advertised for WrestleMania. Who knows? There might not be as many as we think. They might just keep it to where it is right now, and I think there might be like 7 matches. So that would be fine. We don't need a 5-hour WrestleMania if it's going to be at a performance center with no audience. So let's keep it to like the bare minimum, but we shall see. We'll sit back and see. And I'm sure Vince McMahon, as crazy as he is, and sometimes we hate his guts, I'm sure he's got a plan. And we'll just have to wait and see and see what it puts forth. But, like I said, hey, podcasting is an extremely good solution to a lot of people's problems. It's an escape from reality. So, I advise you to check out, a lot of guys, a lot of girls, material that are out there, extremely good. Go back to my previous ones and check those out. So, with that being said, guys, sorry for the rambling. Sorry for this being an episode that isn't really necessarily based about WrestleMania, like I had said before. But something like this is just something that needs to be talked about and preached about. Not necessarily preached, but discussed. And next week we'll come back with WrestleMania material. But until then, guys, be safe. Wash your fucking hands, and worst case scenario, you got too much toilet paper, just start peeping in people's houses. That's all I gotta say about that. All right, guys, until then, take it easy.
Thank you for listening to the Worst Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on Apple. Leave a 5-star review. Post a comment. You post a comment and I will read the comment on the show. Hey, you don't have Apple? No worries. Because guess what? This podcast is on Google Play. It is on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you listen to your podcast, it is there. And if it is not, then hit me up and I will make sure that this show is on that podcast app so you can get your fixings of the Worst Wrestling Podcast, hosted by yours truly, the worst host, Justin.